Hey, gorgeous souls. I kicked myself this morning when I did a little Google search to find out where the place was that I was supposed to pick up some skates for my daughter from Facebook Marketplace. Because she's probably going to use them 5 times this year. I didn't want to buy a full price pair of skates when there are beautiful used ones out there that I knew were just waiting for us. I had typed in my county into Facebook Marketplace and found some that I loved. And it turns out that I actually had selected and said, yes, I'm going to go get some from someone that lived about 40 minutes away in a different county that also starts with the same letter S. So I checked in with myself because I was like, well, I can just say, oh, actually, sorry, not today. And I could have just looked for some ones that were closer. I could have just gone and bought some full price ones. No big deal. I've got the money. But I kept checking in and going, am I supposed to go and get these skates anyway? Am I supposed to drive for 40 minutes and go to this place that I've never been to before? And I kept getting that the answer was yes. So, of course, my lesson could be read the whole thing, read the address before you say yes. Don't just make assumptions, because sometimes I read too fast. That's something that I've always done. But it felt like there was something that was necessary, something that was drawing me to this place that was about 40 minutes away from where I live, just north of the city. So I packed up my daughter. We grabbed some cash. We grabbed gas. I had to put air in my tire. We got tea. She got a donut from Tim Hortons. We finally got ready and we headed off. And honestly, as soon as I hit the highway, I was like, oh, I just needed to be driving in my car today. I needed this open skies, listening to a song on repeat, so my daughter was busy, and it just gave me this time to think. And I realized I had been missing that commute time. I used to actually really enjoy my morning commute when I was teaching in different schools all over the city, teaching dance and gymnastics. So I was like, okay, that's one thing. That's one of the reasons. But it feels like there was more why I was drawn out to this place 40 minutes away when it wasn't really necessary. So I was enjoying the ride. I was having some beautiful talks with my sister with my daughter, and I was saying to her, that it was a really nice day for a drive. And she's like, yeah, I think I really needed this. And I was like, okay, perfect, great. She needed to get out in the open too. It's a beautiful day. The sun is shining. She was driving by in a great mood and looking at some houses by the ring road and going, Mom, I wonder if they know how lucky they are to have these beautiful mountain views. It's really cute because there's no mountains anywhere to be seen, but there were some tiny snow-covered hills, and she was just seeing the beauty in them, which made my day. And as we got closer to the location of these skates, I found that it was actually really beautiful just out in an area we'd never been before. And then I realized we were going to an estate in a neighborhood of estates, and I was like, oh, cool. I've never been here before, looking at all the ginormous houses, just south of being mansions, basically, probably each on a half acre. And my daughter, who is almost 6, was also noticing these houses were big. And most of them were quite lovely. Some of them were fugly. And so we were enjoying this, and she started to go, wow, Mom, can we live out here? And I said, well, not right now, because I really like the school that you're going to. I also don't want to live in that particular area because I like where we are right now. But I didn't want to squash her dream of having, this beautiful house someday. And I was like, if that's something that you want to do, you get to make a lot of money to do that. And she's like, okay, I can start selling lemonade this summer. And I was like, amazing. I was like, Charlie, also, this is one of the reasons you sometimes go to after school care, because I run a business and I spend time making money. And I was like, and when you do go and I'm able to focus on my business, because she hasn't been loving going to after school care lately. She wants to be a bus kid. I have more opportunities to bring in more abundance, right? And we started talking about abundance and about money, and she's finally getting it. She just started getting allowance a little while ago, and I was realizing we haven't had the ability to have these full conversations about money and the energy of money yet, because she was basically just learning to count up until recently and learning what money was. Now she understands you can take money and exchange it for goods and or services. So I'm starting to explain to her the way the world works. And currently you do need to exchange large sums of money, typically without strange circumstances, for something like an estate, where she was like, oh, I want to live there. So I was like, would you like to do some affirmations with me? Should we do some money magic as we were driving away from picking up the perfect skates? She's like, yeah, I love doing affirmations. And so we started off with, I love money and money loves me. We started with, we are so abundant. We are so fortunate. Money flows easily to us. Money and I are friends. And I just was throwing things out, and I'm asking her, again, she's not quite 6 years old, what other things do you think we should say, Charlie? She goes, I am safe and I am calm all by myself. I'm like, yes, beautiful. That's one that she learned in preschool. I said, is there anything else that you want to say? She goes, I am magical. Like, yes, amazing. Keep going. And so she just shared a few more beautiful affirmations, a few more things that she wanted to call into her life. And if we had not gone to this place about 40 minutes out of town on a Saturday when we didn't really have to, I don't know if the conversation would have come up the same way, because we wouldn't have been surrounded by these giant homes. I wouldn't have had this spark of inspiration of like, hey, let's talk about entrepreneurship. Let's talk about money manifestation. Let's talk about energy and frequency. And I mean, honestly, I want to program her mind with the ideas that she can create energy. She can create money, as opposed to programming her brain with what is still quite prevalent in society, which is like, you have to work so hard for money, and like, money is evil. It's the root of all evil. Rich people are no good. Like all of that stuff, right? It's fun to be a parent who is able to consciously choose and support my daughter in consciously choosing the frequency inputs and the programming that she is receiving right now. She's in that sponge stage. So I was already incredibly grateful. Like, I'm so glad that I accidentally said I was going to pick up some skates for her 40 minutes out of town. This has already been beautiful. But I was asking myself, there's got to be more. What other lessons are there here? What other opportunities are there? What could come of this? What could come of this? We're already far from home. And I was like, oh, maybe we could go to the farmer's market. The farmer's market's supposed to be great. And I was like, no, that's not going to work. It's an outdoor farmer's market and it's the middle of winter. So that's not going to be a thing. And I just remembered one of my favorite boutiques happened to be closer to this area of town. Went into the boutique, had some fun, got a couple new jeans, ones that actually fit me right now because, you know, pandemic butt has occurred. So I had the opportunity to get something for me. I had a beautiful time with my daughter. We had this opportunity to talk about money and entrepreneurship and manifestation in a way that wouldn't have been sparked. All from me making this quote unquote mistake, right? Where I accidentally selected skates that were out of town, right? That I easily could have said, I don't want to do that. It's so easy to immediately write off a mistake, and I'm putting it in air quotes, but I'm also holding up my phone so I can't use the other ones, as just being dumb, right? And going like, okay, the lesson here is that I need to be more careful. But what if it's not? What if those little mistakes were these opportunities to take you out of your normal everyday sets of circumstances? What if they're just bringing you to somewhere new? They're going to spark a conversation. Maybe it's going to shift your perspective. Maybe these types of mistakes are just synchronicities, right? And the true mistake, the thing that would be bad, is if you just wrote it off and you didn't ask yourself, is there something here for me? Right? Is there something that I need from this quote unquote mistake? One of my mentors, Suze Casey, calls mistakes missed takes, just like in the movies, right? When you have a scene that actors are running and it doesn't work, you just go cut and then you go, okay, take two. And most of life is like this. There are very few scenarios where there is only one take, you only get one try, and that's it, right? It is usually not life and death. Most of our situations, most of them give us an opportunity to try again. So the stakes are usually relatively low. But I just like to throw out the concept of making mistakes altogether and not even considering them, just being like, oops, but wait, what's here for me? What is the opportunity here? What is the lesson? And I've been sharing this silly story from my day about the skates that are 40 minutes away. Because that's what happened to me today, and that's what's on my heart. But I mean, that perspective is something that I've practiced. So it's in my brain. It's my subconscious normal programming. And it took practice to get there. But I've been practicing most of my life. In fact, finding the silver lining is one of my freaking superpowers. Sometimes to the annoyance of people around me. I really had to learn how to not immediately go, ooh, what's the opportunity here? What's the lesson when people are not available to that? Because sometimes stuff can suck and you got to sit with the feelings and sit with the emotions. And if that is the case, absolutely. But then it's even more important when there has been something that feels really heavy and hard, like it's crushing you, or it's just been something that you don't want, to go, okay, what is the lesson here? What can I gain from this situation? And I love being able to sit with friends or my clients especially and coach people through plucking out the lessons, finding the silver linings, finding the opportunities. But what I love even more, especially for the people that have worked with me for a long time or that have hung out with me for a long time, is noticing that their new normal programming starts to kick in and they will do it without my prompting. And I'm just like, yes, it's my favorite, because our brains are so plastic and the way we think will become the way we think. Like the way we think consciously, even if we have to do it step by step and have someone hold space for us to do it, will be what we actually wind up bringing in as our subconscious automatic programming. So there's something in your head called the reticular activator, and it's always placing you in time or space and telling you what you're about. It's the part of you that's bringing in the relevance from the outside world and making meaning to it, noticing it, because we have so much extra information that our brain actually filters out a lot of the time. It's the part that will, when you get pregnant, notice all the other baby bumps that have always been there. It's not like everybody is suddenly pregnant, but it's the the part of you that is noticing, this is relevant to me, this is like me. It's the part of you that when you buy a new car will suddenly see them all over the road, and there hasn't been a sudden influx. You're just tuning in to the frequency that matches something about you and what you're thinking of. So when you practice being a ninja at seeing the opportunities and seeing the lessons, you start to see them everywhere, right? It's inevitable. It's part of the process. And so at this point, I love the way my brain works without me trying to do anything with it. Something quote unquote bad happens and suddenly I'm like, cool. I wonder what amazing opportunity is going to come from this. And it's kind of ridiculous in the sense, and I still have to go through the feeling of the feelings. And sometimes I have to do that consciously because my mind level will go right to the ooh, what's the lesson here? What's the gift? What's the cool thing that I'm pulling out of it? So I do have to consciously sometimes and go, okay, it's okay. Also you're disappointed because that sucked. But it gives me this resilience to walk through life going anything that is coming my way is a neutral event. I don't have to frame it as bad or good, but it kind of skews to good because I love opportunities. I love taking something that is this challenge and being what's the opportunity here? I'll wrap it up just by bringing this in for anyone that is an entrepreneur, a coach, a healer, somebody that especially is in the online world that like does launches. I had a conversation this morning with a friend, and they were saying something about their launch feeling a little vulnerable, right? Like it's vulnerable to put a launch or an item or something out there for people to see. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And my brain had to go and process and go, I could see how it would feel vulnerable. I can understand that, but I haven't had that experience because I haven't ever made a launch about me. And I've had launches that only one or two people signed up for a thing. I've had failed launches. I've had launches that went really, really well. But I always found that the thing itself was a neutral event that was just giving me information. It's not the right offer in front of the right people. No big deal. And every time it hasn't gone as well as I was hoping, even before it was closed out, I would be like, oh, next time it's actually going to look different. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. I'm going to continue with what I'm doing, but there's something else or something different. There's more information that I'm getting from this experience, and I have to do it this way in order for me to have the experience. So that idea of vulnerability didn't come in because my identity, my self-worth, my worthiness had nothing to do with it. It's just this event. So a failed launch, a post, that I could make that of an offer that doesn't get any bites, it's neutral. It's just this information. It's a data packet, and then I can pull out the lesson, the gift, the opportunity. And I think I really learned that so well when I was hula hooping, because there's this statement that I'd heard around the same time that says a master has failed more than a beginner has even tried, right? I was always falling on my face, launching my hula hoop, hitting myself in the face. Like, I actually crashed more times than anyone else in my classes, and I'd be like flailing around and everyone else was standing on their feet, and I would wipe out several times in class, but it's because I was not holding myself back. And that's actually how I got so much more information, the data for the muscle memory and my mind to learn the new moves. So I got better faster than most of the people because I wasn't afraid to make a mistake, right? When mistakes are gifts. They're just these opportunities to take all of the information, get the data, and go, okay, not like this, but I learned a lot from this, so let's do it a different way next time. I feel like it's almost akin to the scientific method. If you have a theory that you are, like a hypothesis, let's say, that you are trying to prove or disprove, the experiment is not a failure if you don't prove the hypothesis, which is really cool. It's not considered a failure. It's just information. The only failure of an experiment is like basically if the data is corrupted, or if you stop trying, if it has to be shut down in the middle of it, right? Because we learn sometimes even more from something not working out, right? So this is what I would love to support literally everybody that I know in being able to walk around with this lensing, this perspective of the scientific method of everything is just an experiment. We're just gathering data, and if it doesn't work out, we're getting the information, we're getting the codes of the lessons, and that's just as valuable as when things go our way. And I think this helps us come into a state of surrender with it, to bring the science and the spirit together, right? When you can be in a state of surrender and trust, going like, it is what it is, and you have this perspective of like, if it's not working out, it's still working out for me, right? It's still working out in my highest and best good because I'm getting what I need. I'm getting the lessons. I'm pulling out that data, the information. So it's really fun to be able to experience life in this way, where it's like a game. It's like an experiment. It's like this opportunity to just pull out the codes, the information that you need for your next adventure, for your next experience. So, let me know. Am I the only one who thinks this way? I've trained my brain. It was a natural gift, but I've trained my brain to do that. And I love supporting people, my clients, the people that are in my certification program, all of this, to start looking for the gift, for the opportunity, for the lesson, and extracting it so that there's never a waste. There's never a wasted experience. There's never a wasted opportunity. It's always something that's happening for us. And it makes life easier, right? When you're constantly gathering that data, when you're constantly gathering the information that you require for your next level of awesome. Life is badass ninja training, my friends. Earth School is not easy, right? Not easy, but everything that is hard that we go through is honing our skills as these beautiful light warriors, right? Beings of light incarnate here experimenting with what it's like to be on this physical plane. So if you take anything away from this, from hanging out with me, it's like the silver lining is available if you go, what is this crappy situation teaching me? What's the mistake, right? It's not a real mistake, but what's this mistake actually showing to me? What can I gain from it? And how can it make me a more badass human being? So, yeah, I love that. Stacy's just saying, as a teacher, I always work to emphasize the value in our mistakes as learning opportunities to grow, not failures. Yeah, exactly. And this is what is taught now in many, many schools. And I love that. And this next generation is going to get that intuitively because it's going to be programmed into their subconscious. Whereas a lot of us grew up where like perfection was the goal and very not attainable. And there was a lot of worthiness stuff that came through mistakes, and people started to be afraid to make them. This is the thing that I see holding people back more than anything, especially in their business, but also in having fun with life, is being afraid to not be perfect. So it paralyzes you from taking any action because they're like, well, I don't know how to do it perfectly, so I better just not. Can we just destroy and uncreate that right now and let it just be possible for us to try something and suck at it and be bad at it, but then extract the information we need to learn and grow? So much fun. Yes, Erin, you always used to choose the hardest way possible, maybe to help you learn more. Most of the most badass people that I know, especially like spiritual badasses, yes, did exactly that to help learn and grow more. And beautiful souls, it's so beautiful to have you all here. So this was number 5 in my 365 live challenge. Again, if you got something you want to hear my thoughts on, just share it with me in the comments. I would love to be able to create conversations as well as just have me talking, because I love co-creating. It's way more fun than just talking myself. So I really appreciate this here, Stacy. I actually told my students to celebrate when they made a mistake because it means they learned more than anyone else that day. Yes! I did that when I was teaching too, and I taught the kids when they would drop their hoops to go, yes! That means you're learning, you're growing, you're pushing your edge. Because if we always play it safe, I mean, it's just not very fun, right? It's safe, but it's not fun. So let the ego bugger off. What if, Stacy, instead of telling the ego to bugger off, we could give it a cookie, give it a hug, and say thank you for your perspective of trying to keep me alive. But you know what? My full soul and consciousness is here to drive the bus now, and let's do it together. Because we do need our ego to help us live. And I hate the like kill the ego, get rid of the ego thing. I'm like, no, the ego was great. Ego did the best job it could in keeping us alive until our full consciousness and creator self and soul could come through and also share that higher perspective. So amazing tool to integrate it all. And that's fun too. So my beautiful friends, I am going to go and head out to the Deep Freeze Festival tonight. I hope so. I will get ready with my family, but sending you so much love. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I will catch you tomorrow.